Focused? Okay. Good morning. We are doing Hilchos Tisha B'Av. We're almost done. Taf Kuf Nun Tet Seif Chet. That's where we are. Seif Chet. Baal Brit Lovesh Begadim Acherim Ach Lo Levanim Mamish. So here, what are we talking about? It's on Tisha B'Av, any day during the week, and you have a bris. It's a bris Milah. Right? It doesn't matter if it's Bismano or not Bismano. Here you are, there's a bris on Tisha B'Av. So whoever is the Baal Brit, the Ramah will give a few examples. He or she, either one of the parents, father or mother, plus a couple more we'll see. So that's Baal Brit Lovesh Begadim Acherim. He's allowed to change his clothing that he was wearing while he was mourning. Ach lo levanim mamish. But not mamish, white clothing. So that expression's a little bit confusing. Not just for me, but even the Mishnah Berurah quotes a couple different opinions what that means. Brand new, not brand new. Bottom line, Lamaisa, it comes from a Mordechai that's quoted in the Torah. Basically, Lamaisa, it means not freshly laundered, crisp clothing. Again, there is an opinion that says it could be, just not brand new mamish, but generally, make sure you wore it at least once. Okay? Haga, but you're allowed to wear different clothing. We'll see again. Haga.
Gemara uses the language of libun. Libun means to launder them.
Okay. Libun. Okay. Interesting.
Color.
Not a color. You mean libun from laundered. Very good. Okay, that would make sense. Haga va'avi habein ve'hamoel ve'hasandak kulam nikraim baalei brit. So that includes the father or mother. Ve'hamoel, the one who's actually doing the bris milah physically. Ve'hasandak, the one who's holding the baby. Kulam nikraim baalei brit. Umutarim lubash bigdei Shabbos. So you're allowed to wear your nicest clothing, bigdei Shabbos, whatever. Le'achar shegamru hakinos. So what do? You finish in the morning the kinos, and we mentioned you can do it. Some do it. Many do it still in the morning time. Some wait till right after chatzot, and now you come to do the bris milah. So when you're walking and bringing in the baby, you can wear your bigdei Shabbos. Aval lo yilbishu levanim, but not what we said, freshly laundered clothing. Okay. Now, even though he's allowed to wear, the Baalei Brit are allowed to wear bigdei Shabbos, they're not allowed to wear leather shoes. That's one of the Chamisha Inuyim. The clothing is more of a minhag, but the Chamisha Inuyim are a din derabanan from the Gemara, so that you're not allowed to wear. Also, they don't get haircuts. Okay. They don't bathe, of course. It's one of the Chamisha Inuyim. So this is when it lands on a bris, lands on a regular day of Tisha B'Av. Not a nidche. The nidche we'll get to in a moment. Similar but different. Fine. And then the Mishnah Berurah quotes the minhag, probably by all Ashkenazim, is once the whole Milah situation is completely over and you're starting to go home, when you go home, you go back into your clothing of your Tisha B'Av clothing. The Orach Chaim writes, no, you're allowed to, if the only time you have to go back to your clothing is if you're going back to Shul and you're reading Kinos again, or Eov, or Yirmiyahu with the Kahal and Shul, then you wear their clothing. But if you're not back in Shul, even the source that the Mishnah Berurah brings from the Maharil originally, even he agrees you don't have to change back. You can wear your clothing all day. Okay, so that would certainly be for the Svardim. Fine. Tet. Tisha B'Av, on Tisha B'Av, Shechal Yod B'Shabbos, if it comes out on Shabbos, V'nidche L'Yom Rishon. In other words, whenever Tisha B'Av falls out on a Sunday on the 10th of Av, that's this halacha, so it's going to be different than what we just learned. So it's a nidche. So then, in this situation, Baal Brit mitpalel mincha be'od hayom gadol. You should daven mincha after chatzos, but soon after chatzos, right? Early in the afternoon. Mincha gadola we're talking. V'rochetz ve'einu mashlim ta'anito lefi shiyom tov shelo hu. And in this case, since it's a nidche, he is allowed to bathe or wash, and he is allowed to, and he does not continue fasting. Once the bris is over, at the bris, he drinks the wine at the kiddush, at the bracha, and for the bris milah, and he continues eating that day. Now, they'll make the whole seuda at nighttime with everybody, the big grand seuda, but he himself and the Baalei Brit are, which we mentioned, right? There's the three main ones, including plus the mother, so they are able to eat. Okay. Yeah, for sure, 100%. They also, Mishnah Berurah points out, but it's all the achronim say a pidyon habein. If it's bismano, this the same halacha applies. Pidyon habein, which would mean after 30 days, so it would be on the 31st day. So the first time you can. That's when that would apply by a pidyon habein. But generally speaking, the way it's normally done is you do it in the late afternoon. So when everybody comes for the pidyon, then everybody can make the big seuda. Because the seuda, for everybody, their festive seuda has to be at nighttime, because it's still Tisha B'Av. So just practically, that's usually how it work out.
So who can eat?
For a pidyon habein, only the father and the kohen. I'm not sure about the mother. The Mishnah Berurah only talks about the father and the kohen.
And the bris, all three?
For the bris, we said for sure it's all three. That's the Ramah plus the mother. I'm not sure about the mother by a pidyon habein. Someone can let me know later. Okay, a few things. Now, if it's not a nidche, so then we say avelis derabim is doche the yom tov shel yachid. But if it's that's the Ritva points it out. But if it's otherwise, then it's not such. Then that's fine. Now, when we said it's mutter by a bris Milah, when it's a nidche, not every Sunday, but when it's a nidche to a Sunday, so then it doesn't matter. So most say it doesn't matter if it's a Milah bismano or not. That's a Shlomo Zalman, similar to an Avel he compares it to, but he says it's okay, even Shelo bismano. And by an Avel he's allowed to wear wash or leather shoes, I believe. But here it's even allowed to eat by a nidche. Okay. By a nidche, I'm not sure if he's allowed, but just so I'm not clear, I'm not sure if a nidche is allowed for a bris milah to wear leather shoes. That might not. If it's on Tisha B'Av, for sure it's aser. It's one of the 5 things. If it's a nidche, I'm not sure. He is allowed to bathe and he is allowed to eat. So I don't know, maybe. Just didn't see. Chazon Ovadia also points out, makes no difference, nidche, not nidche, but the Orach Chaim does write, if it's a nidche, that you shouldn't eat. One should not be eat, but I'm not sure if any pasuk like the Orach Chaim. Okay. Of course, the Mohel himself is allowed to, even if it's on Tisha B'Av itself, the Mohel, of course, is allowed to prepare his nails if he needs to, and he's allowed to wash his hands with soap or sanitizer, whatever they use, alcohol, chlorhexidine, whatever they use, that's for sure mutter, because that's for the health of the baby. It's not for tanug. Okay. Anything else you want to mention? I think that's about it. Also, Mishnah Berurah points out, by a chasan also, if a chasan gets married on, it's not so common, chasan gets married on Tisha B'Av, on a Sunday nidche, not Shivas Yemei Mishta, but just for the day, for the chasan itself, when he gets married, he doesn't have to continue fasting. So you can make your wedding on a Sunday nidche if you want to be able to get out of eating that year for Tisha B'Av. You can, okay. And if it's not nidche, then you have to give it to a kos. You have to give the wine to a katan to drink. Okay. Also, if it comes out that it's Motzei Shabbos, don't forget to say Havdalah if you need to. That's a side point, obvious.
The Mishnah Berurah talks about the chasan, the stam talit. No?
Here too. Here too. If it's nidche, if you get married on Tisha B'Av or any tainus, and it's a nidche, then you don't have to fast. Okay. Also, if it's a nidche, we're much more makel for someone who's sick. If you're a little bit sick, or you're pregnant and you don't feel good, then we're very quick to say go ahead and eat if it's a nidche for Tisha B'av.
Where is it? I don't think it's that. He also says chosim by stam times.
He says it here too.
Stam
V'hu adin,
tzibur.
v'chein. It's all continuing. V'hu adin, v'chein. Okay, we'll discuss it inside if you want.
No, but those kulas apply in that situation of stam times tzibur b'chol abbas tzomos. In
Arbaat Tzamos includes Tisha B'av.
Right? There's four tzomos is Tisha B'av. There's 3 plus 1. I'm not talking about Tainus Esther. Okay.
Yeah? Okay.
We'll discuss. Yeah,
Sorry.
it's fine. Yud. Okay. Good. Nohagim shelo lishchot v'shelo lahachin tzorchei seuda ad achar chatzot. So the custom is not to do shchita and not to make any preparations. Right? We earlier mentioned it's okay to start washing your dishes if you're going to be using them and the meat. All these things are okay, but only ad achar chatzot. The minhag is not to do it before chatzot, but after chatzot or mekel. V'holchim ala kvaros miyad kishaholchim mibeit knesset. The Rama points out that there's a minhag to go visit the cemeteries. If you see a Jewish cemetery, you would say the bracha, of course, for seeing the base of kvaros. And so many do have that custom. Now, regarding, let's see what I want to point out. Now, regarding preparing, so the Mishnah Berurah points out the only time it's mutter to eat, to do shchita in the afternoon is if you're going to be eating Motzei Tisha B'av. But most of us in most situations have the custom. We don't eat any meat Motzei Tisha B'av. We wait until the next morning or the next afternoon we discussed. So depending. So he says it's for what we lamaisa what we do. It's usher to do shchita in the afternoon. However, everyone points out when it comes to a, but he did say it says it's a machlokas and it says b'makom adchak yesh lahakel. Okay, and also whenever there's a sudas mitzvah, let's say you're going to make a sudas mitzvah that night after Tisha B'av from the Bris, from the Pidyon Abein, or whatever sudas mitzvah you're making. So then, because it's a sudas mitzvah, then you're allowed to make all your preparations, including shchita, all ready from the morning, even before chatzot, if that's what you need to do. Because everyone knows it takes time to prepare, prepare for a sudas mitzvah, for a party, whatever, it takes time. So you need more time, so therefore it's mutter. Okay, when we mentioned there's a minute to go to the kvaros, so the Rizal was not in favor, so some say not to go, but many do go, many don't. If you're going to go, so the Mishnah Berurah points out the kavana one should have is tivakish rachamim. This is on Tisha B'av afternoon. Some have the minhag to go, and we're not davening to the Mesim. We're davening to Kadosh Baruch Hu to have rachamim on us from the schus of the Mesim, and also it's a musar for us that we should feel chashuvim kemesim if we're not ra'oi. And they point out you should be more than Dalet Amos away from the kever. Certainly one should be careful not to walk on the kvarim lamesh, that's bizayun, but one should stay away at least Dalet Amos, especially on Tisha B'av, because it's a day of chitzonim, mazikim, that can, or spirits, evil spirits that can attach themselves to you. So that's not good. Also, they point out one should not make it into a whole party or a whole spitzier of enjoyment or going with a whole bunch of friends. You should go, one person or a few people when there's still, but very few, maybe just when you're still focused on Avelis and the Churban. And one is not allowed to wear leather shoes in order to go. If someone needs to wear leather shoes to get there, then all the poskim say they should not wear leather shoes and they should not go if that's what's needed.
And it says you go by yourself or with just one.
Yeah, the Mishnah Berurah uses the words of you should go by. It's just he's quoting from the Shalah and he's just giving you his opinion or an Eitzah Tova. There's no halachos of how many people, but the idea is you should go. It should not be Hesach Hadas. Very good. Well put. Okay. let's finish the Ramah. V'im era meit b'Tisha B'Av. Now, if there is a mace, someone gets buried on Tisha B'Av, ein omrim tziduk hadin. So we don't say tziduk hadin, as it's a day when there's no tachanun, so you wouldn't say. By the Sfardim, there's two different minhagim. Some do, some don't. It really depends on the minhag. The Chazon Ovadia says one should, but again, it really depends on the minhag. So Ashkenazim don't. By Sfardim, ask your local Orthodox rabbi. He points out, just as an aside, Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed and other times, the Shulchan Aruch writes to say Tziduk Hadin, but in most of the cases, the Ramah, Al Ashkenazim, and by Sfardim too, the minhag is not to. But interesting, here he writes to. Okay. Anyways, and why not? Because it's a moed, as we mentioned. It's a moed, and we don't say tachanun. Okay. My son was born on Tisha B'Av, not the Bris, but many people who have a child born or in the area, especially born or a Bris on Tisha B'Av, Menachem is the most common name. We named our son Nehemiah. Okay. Okay, Taf Kuf Samech. We'll see if we finish or not, but this is the siman of La'asot Zecher L'Chorban. Okay, there's really two of them when you include Kriya, but here's the first siman. Zecher L'Chorban. Here, I'm going to first just reading the first few words. Taf Kuf Samech Aleph, Tav Kuf Samech, Seif Aleph starts with Mishacharav Beis HaMikdash. When the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Tiknu Chachamim Shehayu Be'oso Ador. So Chachamim made a takana that in that time when it happened, She'ein Bonim Le'olam Binyan Misuyad U'mechuyar Ke'binyan HaMalachim. That one should not build your home, binyan, that should be coated in, limestone or some kind of very white, pure plaster, umechuyar, kebinyan hamalachim, and should be decorated with fancy paints, and probably that includes pictures on the wall, like fancy palaces, the homes of malachim. Ella, what should you do? Tach beso betit, you should just, first you smear the wall, you coat the wall with some kind of cement, or whatever word you want to use. Mortar? Okay. Visad besid, and then you put on this, on top of it, you put on this white limestone or plaster, umeshayir mekom, and when you're doing this, you leave over a space, an area of amma al amma, right? Perhaps 18 by 18 inches. Yeah. Okay. I'm confused. No, amma, yeah, it's 18 inches? Why am I blinking? Okay. Keneged ha-petach below sid. Yeah, okay. So that's the, now, you do that opposite or keneged the petach, and you leave out the seed, so all you see is dark, gray, mud, whatever, looking wall in that area, and that would be, so what is keneged ha-petach? So most explain that means that when you open up your front door and you look inside, it's going to be right opposite your eyes. Right? You look straight forward, and on that wall, that's where you leave it. Some dafka put it above the doorway, so that when you're sitting inside your house, relaxing and looking around, your eyes turn to your front door, because now it's on the inside, and then you're going to see it. So some say to do it above the sea. Either way, you're makayim, but okay. Now, Mishnah Berurah asks, in general, on this entire siman, he says, "V'tzarach iyun alma nohagim heter." So tzarach iyun, why some are so mekel by many of these halachos. Okay, I think we actually pretty much explained it. I just want to digress one moment from the Gemara in Bava Basra. That's the source of what this siman comes from, primarily. It comes from the Gemara Bava Basra, Samach Amud Beis. So I'm just going to read a few lines. And Tanu Rabbanan Mishachara Beis Shnia, when the second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, Rabu Prushim B'Yisrael. So there were many who are very strict upon themselves. Shelo le'achol, in a good way. Shelo le'achol basar v'shelo lishtot yain. And they stopped every day of the week. They said, I'm never going to eat meat and wine again until it's rebuilt. So then, Nitva lehen Rabbi Yeshua Amar lehen, and Rabbi Yeshua tells them, Benai mipnei ma ietem ochlim basar ve'enatem shotim yain. How come you're not eating and drinking wine and meat anymore? Amar lo, nochal basar shimenu makrir al gabi hamizbeach ve'achshav batel. How can we? There's no Beis HaMikdash, there's no meat, and there's no Nisuch HaYayin on the Mizbeach anymore. How can we drink wine? Amar lehem, imkein lechem lo nochal. So then, according to your rationale, you won't be able to have any bread anymore because of the menachos. So they said, fine, you're right, we're going to have some fruits. He said, what do you mean? The fruits, there's bikurim. He said, well, there's other fruits. Or then he says, okay, so what about water? You have nisuch hamayim. You can't even drink water anymore. You're left to nothing but a few fruits and water. And then they were quiet. They weren't sure what to answer. So he said to him like this: Shalor lihit abel kol ikar, not to show any availus at all that we can't do. Iyavshar. Shekavar nigzer gzera. We already have the gzera, the chorban. We have to do some kind of. But lilis abel yoter midai. But to overdo it, also iyavshar. And we can't make a gzera she'iyavshar tzibur lalmod ba. Right? So basically, the Gemara says like this: Kach amru chachamim, sad adam et beiso besid. You just plaster your walls. Umeshayer bo davar muat. V'kama amar Rav Yosef ama al ama. So all the Gemara says is just to do, when you do your plaster on your walls or your paint, all you have to do is just leave over an ama ba'alma, ama al ama. And Rav Chisda's keneged petach, okay, whatever that meant. Os adam kol tzarchei seuda mashayer davar muat. And you can make any kind of seuda, serve anything you want, anyway. Set the table, serve your food as always, but leave over something. Mahi, what does it mean, leave over something that you hold back? So, Amar Papa, Kasa Daharsana. You leave over a simple dish of fish. A real simple, you eat the chicken, you eat the meat, you serve your salads, but leave over something very minor from what is normal, what you expect to see on the table. And then it continues.
You mean omit.
Omit. Yeah, don't bring it to the table, don't serve it. Thank you. And then it continues, Kol tachshitea, a woman wears all of her jewelry, umishaya davar muat. But from whatever she normally wears, like if she wears normally 4 bracelets, 4 necklaces, and 4 rings, leave over something from what she normally wears. It doesn't mean, Pashas, it doesn't mean she has to now not wear any necklace or not wear any bracelet. Okay? And then he continues, a little bit more, you can read on, and I think we're going to read it inside. But anyway, I'll just read the last line. V'kol mis'abel al Yerushalayim zoche v'ra b'simchasa. Whoever is mis'abel, who does show mourning, will be roa to see the simcha of it being rebuilt. And so that's the main point from the Gemara. The reason why I wanted to point it out is because people ask, how come nowadays we don't do as much as the way the Shulchan Aruch writes? The Shulchan Aruch writes a little bit of an extreme interpretation of the Gemara. He gets it largely from the Rambam, but it's maybe even a bit more than the Rambam. And the Tur and others take a little bit more of a literal approach, because nowadays the minhag is just to leave an amma ba'amma. Everyone paints however they want. No one thinks twice, and we just leave over an amma ba'amma. I'll just leave with one other interesting thing. The Ben Yehoyada points out, we see from the Gemara and from the Shulchan Aruch, 3 main areas where Chazal were mataking something. One is with your house, leaving over amma ba'amma. We're going to see leaving over something by your meal, and also we're going to see something about jewelry. What's the significance? Because each one is keneged The bayis is connected to Beis Hamikdash, the suda is connected to Mizbeach, and the tachshit is connected to Big Day Kahuna. So we wanted to have something in each one.